Hi, everybody. My name is State Senator John Cronin. Welcome to this month's episode of Cronin's Corner. Today, I am pleased to be joined by the Executive Director of NewVue Communities, Marc Dohan. NewVue is a really integral partner for all of the community development, whether it's housing or small business and entrepreneurship, all of those things that are happening in north central Massachusetts, and is a driver of impactful change and progress in our community. So Marc, thank you so much for being with us today and agreeing to have this conversation.
Oh, thanks for having me. We're really excited to be here and appreciate all of your support for all of our efforts.
So for people who are unfamiliar with what NewVue is and what your mission is, can you kind of describe what it is you guys do?
Sure. We're a community development corporation. We're sort of the only one here in north central Massachusetts. So we work sort of from Harvard to Athol. So a lot of that, of course, is focused in Fitchburg and Leominster and this area, those gateway cities and around. We're about 40 years old, so we started off in the Clegon neighborhood, and we've been expanding sort of ever since. And our vision is, I think, says it all. We sort of envision healthy neighborhoods where residents choose to live, work, and invest.
And so there's been a number of exciting projects that people know and people can see that NewVue has taken on over the past, say, 10 years. Could you talk a little bit about some of those, the housing projects at Carter School and maybe what's next?
Sure. So a few years ago, we were looking, one of the things we would like to do is we like to have affordable housing, and we really like to take advantage of the assets that we have in our gateway cities. And one of those is old historic buildings. So a few years ago, we worked with the mayor of Leominster, and we took the Carter School that had been vacant for many, many years, and we converted it into 39 apartments, affordable apartments for residents of the whole region. It looks really, really beautiful, and we learned a lot about renovating schools. So our next project is going to be, also with historic schools, is to renovate the B.F. Brown School, the city stables, and the high school annex into 68 affordable or mixed income affordable artist preference housing. So we're doing that in partnership with the Fitchburg Art Museum, which is right across the street. We're very excited about it. It's only the second in the state that's sort of put together this way, so we're breaking a lot of ground. We've had so many partners help us pull that together.
I think one of the cool things about this project is it's got the potential to really transform the neighborhood and north of Main and really breathe so much life into the downtown and Main Street in Fitchburg. Can we bring up some of the photos that we have of what the arts community is going to look like? So what are we looking at right now, and what's really the vision for the artist preference housing in the downtown? Yep.
So what you're looking at right now is that's the auditorium of the inside, an artist rendering of the inside of the auditorium of the B.F. Brown School. You can see, if you look, the windows look just like, because this building is being renovated historically, the windows are still the same old giant windows. Yep. The height of the ceiling is the same, and the balcony, so it looks just like an auditorium with these things here. Some of the artist amenities that we're talking about doing here, in addition to the great light, so you can see potential visual artists. We don't have this on the rendering, but the stage is going to turn into something that's soundproof, because a lot of artists make noise, musicians and things like that. They make noise. So those are some of the things that that's what the inside of the auditorium might look like when we're done.
And what do you hope the synergy is between the Fitchburg Arts Museum and this housing development?
The Fitchburg Art Museum has been a critical partner all the way along. So one of the things that we've done is they're this huge cultural asset. They're the art museum of this area,
right?
And they're providing a lot of the intellectual capital, so that we'll really have a community of artists that want to move into the Fitchburg arts community. So we've been partnering with them to help come up with the criteria so we can make sure that people are artists. We're defining artists very broadly, so anybody involved in the creative economy. So an architect could be an artist, a writer could be an artist, a musician, as we talked about, a computer graphic designer could potentially be an artist. So a lot of different people could be artists, and we've been working with Nick Capasso and the folks at the Art Museum to help us get the word out, and also to build the intellectual capital. It's not just about a building, but it's also about people in Fitchburg feeling wow, arts is something that I could, arts is something that it'd be a great place to live in Fitchburg and to celebrate and do my artwork.
I think there's a unity of conception that exists now in Fitchburg, I think across municipal and state level leaders of building downtown as a destination and really trying to leverage the assets like Fitchburg Arts, the Art Museum, to create this tourism and arts and culture economy and destination. Was that an easy sell? Because I know that is something that you have been driving for a number of years and was a process. Could you speak to maybe some of the challenges to get everybody rowing in the same direction with that?
Yeah, that is a great analogy. It is about getting everybody comfortable that arts and culture is a way to take advantage of the assets that Fitchburg and many, not just Fitchburg, but many older gateway cities have. We want to preserve those assets and build on them. So for Fitchburg, having Fitchburg State University, having a long downtown that has many historic buildings,
right,
having City Hall that's back on Main Street is something that allows us to build on the assets. So here we are, this is an overview. So you can see the B.F. Brown School is the building with the white roof on it right there, right across the street from the Fitchburg Art Museum. In the background is Lowe Park. So part of this, the city was really smart and created what's called a 40R district. Don't want to get too much into the weeds, but that allows the city to receive some funds when this project is done, and hopefully they'll use some of those funds to help improve Lowe Park for whatever the community wants to do. Next to the B.F. Brown School is the former city stables. Those will also be renovated. Whoops, if you can go back to that slide, is so that's the city stables sort of on the same slide.
So is that like the fire department kept the horses there, or?
Yeah, we did hear the fire department kept the horses there. It's been really, but for a long time it's just been vacant. That building has just been vacant. And then next to it, across the street, is the former high school annex. Sort of, you can see it there right next to Longjo Middle School. And that building is really the one that's the most prominent. That's the one you see from far away.
And how old is that building?
These are all around 1890.
Wow.
I think the stables are a little bit earlier. And that building is in the toughest shape for sure. So it was
I mean, all these buildings are absolutely stunning, right? I mean, they're really magnificent, and we came really close to losing them. Right? Can you speak to some of the challenges with the roof? And there were moments where I think all of us were worried that the Fitchburg arts community was not going to move forward or happen.
Yeah, as
I like to say, you had hair when this project started, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we've been working on this for almost, I think 10 years ago is when the city put out the RFP. And certainly the time that the project was most in the balance was when the fire took place at BF.
Yep.
It burned off the roof. And that was a time when the city really could have gone either way. The mayor and I have, and many of us have said, okay, they had already committed to sell the building to us, but now they didn't really need to. What were they going to do? It could have been a great parking lot for the art museum that needed it. There are a lot of other uses for that land. And people really came together and decided, okay, we're going to make this happen. And the city worked really hard to get the insurance proceeds they needed so that we could put the roof back on the building so we could preserve it. And that was really the time. It took a lot of work. But that was really the time when it came together. After that, we don't need to go into all the things, but it turned out there was a little piece of, we had to do some work on Lowe Park land. So
legislation.
So we had to pass legislation at the state level to allow us to actually going to put a little parking lot on Lowe Park so that people would be able to park there just for the park. So that was it is never a good idea to get a call from the mayor at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he was up there a lot longer before that, but it's never a good idea to get there.
No.
And since then, people really rallied around it. We did a market study that showed that this is going to be something that's very popular. And, again, the Art Museum was a huge partner because for them, wow, we could have free parking, something they don't even have. And they said, no, what we want is artists. That's what's going to make our, that's what's going to help build the art economy in Fitchburg. And it will really help make the Fitchburg Art Museum stand out because now there'll not just be an art museum, but there'll be an art museum with
people.
And the people there too, and help us develop that intellectual capital.
I think any thoughtful approach to community development or revitalization really hinges on housing. I think across the state there's a wide recognition that that we don't have sufficient housing stock to grow for young families to be able to get into the market, to own. And everything I think at the state level is, especially right now, we're at a bit of an inflection point, and we're talking about housing at a time where it's never been more difficult to build and more expensive to build. Could you talk about just some of the challenges to put this project together, to close and hopefully to break ground very soon? But just what a difficult environment it is.
Yeah, it has been really hard. With all the supply chain issues, it's the contractors feel under pressure to make sure they can deliver the schedule that they want to do, that we need them to deliver. There's labor shortages as well, so that's hard on the contractors. Inflation, so our interest rate went up for what we're paying for the debt on the building. So all of those things have been really, really hard and our team has done a great job of chasing them down so that we now have a construction contract in place. By the time everybody's seeing this, we will be closed and in the ground, and there we go.
Yeah.
Closed and in the ground. So it has been a real challenge, and our team has worked really, really hard to just pull everybody together. One way to think about it is that a few years ago, like when we did Carter School, we had, 6 or 7 sources, and here we have many, many more sources of funds. So that means every lender, every investor has additional requirements that they need, which just makes the closing process harder to do to meet all those requirements.
And it's just an incredibly burdensome process in terms of compliance and really, what you've done an incredible job of is innovating and putting together a capital stack and a financing plan that I don't think many people have the capacity to do. So I am very grateful for it. We are filming in June right now at the State House. Yesterday, the Senate passed a really important housing provision that I'm really proud of. It's the Housing Development Incentive Program, which has been in existence for 10 years, but it is a tax credit for market rate housing in gateway cities up to $2 million to help finance projects in some of the most economically depressed gateway cities across the state where the math and the financing doesn't work. But I hope that is an important tool moving forward to greenlight projects and to get building, because we need every type of housing. We need every type of housing everywhere. And it's a really challenging environment to get people to invest in gateway cities at a time where it's prohibitively expensive to build. Aside from that, what are some of the things that you believe the state can do more of to spur housing production, to make sure we're building all types of housing and building healthy communities?
So it's really exciting. So congratulations on getting HDIP passed, because people have asked me, what type of housing do you want? More. That's the answer. We need more. So we need more affordable housing, but we also, in some communities, they don't need any more market rate housing. They have enough luxury housing and all that. But in our communities, we could use a mix of housing, and that's one of the things that we're doing in all of our projects now, is we're putting a mix of housing in, so we have more housing both at the lower level and at the upper level. So it's not. That's what creates a healthy community, and that's what a healthy building and a healthy community. So we're really excited that the Healy administration has now created an executive office of housing and livable communities.
For the first time in decades.
For the first time in decades. I think I have the name right. It's going to take me a while to do that.
We'll call it the Housing Secretariat. We can't screw that one up.
Oh, there we go. That's a good one. So it's great that they're just placing that emphasis on housing. The Mass Dreams program was really terrific, particularly for residents of Fitchburg and Leominster. It allowed people to purchase a home at a time when it is with interest rates rising and home prices rising and fewer homes on the market.
Right.
That Mass Dreams program has allowed a lot of people to purchase their first home and to build equity.
And generational wealth, right?
Correct.
It helps close wealth gaps. It helps, it really helps keep people in the middle class as they age and as they grow, and it's better to be paying yourself than perhaps rent.
Yeah, again, I think it goes to this notion that we need all types of housing.
Sure.
So some people are ready to move out of their house and rent, like that's the last thing
right,
they want.
Yep.
Other people are ready to move into, want to own their home. Younger families want to be able to buy their first home. So that's why I just think we need more of these different type of programs, and it's great that the state is funding them because that gives us the flexibility to design the programs to meet the requirements. And it may not be a one-size-fits-all. In
different communities have different markets and different needs.
Right, in Boston, everywhere housing prices are going up. In Boston, some of those housing prices are just so high, what they need is they just want more affordable housing, and that's all they want. They don't need any more luxury housing. Other parts of the Commonwealth need a mix of both.
Right. NewVue is not a one-trick pony, though. I mean, there is so many different things that you do in the community. Can you talk about some of your support for small business and how you support especially entrepreneurs here in North Central?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. Again, thanks to the state, we have a terrific, and a number of other funders. We provide technical assistance to small businesses. So what we like to say is if you want to start a small business, it's great to come, try it, put your plan down on paper, make a mistake on paper, try it out, get that business plan together, and then go rent your building or whatever it is.
Go get the loan.
Go get the loan, do all those things. So we've worked with so many different entrepreneurs who want to start their business, or maybe they're in a little bit of trouble. We saw this a lot during the pandemic where businesses had to shift, and
there were wrenches thrown in everybody's business plan.
That's right, exactly. So now we all know, well, we think we know how to deal with the virus, but at the beginning, for many businesses, it was really, really hard. So we're helping people if their business is changing or if they want to start a new business. And we've done a lot of that. Been a great partnership in the city of Fitchburg in particular, where people have come together to help start a lot of these businesses. So the city will help out on the regulatory side. We've been a great partner with the Chamber and the Development Corporation to help out on the financing side, or one of our local lenders, if somebody can go to the local lender. And we provide the small business technical assistance. And that same formula works throughout.
Whether you're in Ashby or
it doesn't
everywhere.
matter. Yep, same thing. So, but it's great when people come together like that. So we've done a lot on that. Another place where we've seen a lot is we've created a steward program. So when we talk about people wanting to live, work, and invest, one of the things is what ideas do people have to help their own communities? So early on, we started the Art Stewards. At the beginning of the show, I think one of your little flashes had a visit there that you had perhaps with some of those Art Stewards. So many of the murals that you're seeing in Fitchburg, but throughout the region, it's a whole team effort, but Art Stewards are really important to do that. We're seeing a huge...
It's a reminder there's some really talented people around too, right?
It's taking advantage of our local assets.
Yep.
So we have a whole childcare entrepreneur group that want to start new childcare, which we know is really hard. That's one of the issues that keep people from work. And we also have a group that's doing a lot on environmental work right now too, with all the work that people are doing to help preserve the planet with climate change.
Yep.
There's a group that's coming together to say, how do we work as a team? So those are a few of the different steward leadership groups that we have that are out there that are working. And if you have an idea, we'd love to hear from you, because a lot of what we're doing is getting people together who just want to bounce ideas and work together as a team.
And make their community better, right?
Work together as a team, weave a web together, so you're not out there alone saying, wow, am I the only person who cares about the climate? Oh no, there's a whole group of other people that are working together on this.
One of the things I really appreciate, and I represent 10 different cities and towns, the challenges that are present in one community are not the same as the challenges present in another community. In terms of North Central and the region here in North Worcester County, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see? And what do you hope NewVue's role continues to be to meet some of those and address them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We had a whole conversation about this at staff meeting, and I'm actually really optimistic. I feel like I was the most optimistic one, so maybe that's not a good thing.
That's why you're the leader, right? Yeah, right, yeah.
Which is unusual for me too. Usually it's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, how are we going to get all these things done? So I feel like the hybrid environment could really help communities in north central Massachusetts, so that we're not all commuting into Boston all the time.
Right.
There are people who have to be there. My wife is a teacher. Nurses, healthcare, they have to be on site. But there's a lot of people who don't have to. If we can get some of those people off the road, working from home a few days.
And I think the train into North Station is such an incredible asset for the Twin Cities too, especially if you're in a hybrid work environment and you need to be in town 1 or 2 days a week. That's a lot more palatable commute than taking the train 5 days a week, I think, just in terms of, it's realistic now.
Yeah, and I just think people want a little bit more space. The homes out here, you have certainly, like compared to Boston, for many places here, you have a little bit more
bang for your buck.
Bang for your buck, a little more space. I think one of the challenges that we have is to just believe in ourselves, and that's what we've seen with the Fitchburg Arts community, and many communities are good at this, is finding the local assets and taking advantage of them. And as you said, they're not going to be the same in every community, but that's, I think, the critical thing that each community needs to do, is to say, what are the assets that we have here? How can we build on them? Because that's what attracts other people to want to live there. That's what I think we have a challenge about, creating a sense of place, because people want to do things with other people.
Right.
We want to be together. We don't just want to be just on Zoom and Teams or whatever it is. So I think that's one of the, how are we going to create that sense of place? So that's why, the small business team that we do, the leadership stuff, and we didn't talk about it, but we do a lot of housing services. So we help people purchase their first homes, and a lot of that is helping people repair their credit. So maybe they had a tough time during the pandemic. We have examples of people whose credit was very low. We were able to help them increase their credit, help them buy a first home. Now they can build equity. And for some people it's very easy. We have one story though where it's been, a long journey, but they stuck at it, and we've been able to provide them with financial coaching, so that.
And it's life-changing, right? Yeah, to own your own home for the first time, right?
Yep. And the other challenge is, one bad thing can knock people off. So, if you're many of us live paycheck to paycheck, and what happens when your car, you're in an accident? Maybe it's not even your fault, but now you can't get to work. How do you go about dealing with that? So we also are helping people with eviction prevention and financial coaching. And I do think that's one of the harder challenges, is so many of us, with all the inflation that's going on, with prices going up, we have to do a better job of budgeting. And so I think that's a challenging thing right now. So our financial coaching program can help people with that. Rising energy prices has been obviously a big issue as well. So those are some of the things that I think that, and just the uncertainty in general, what is the economy going to do, has been really, really hard.
I think there's a sense, especially in Fitchburg and in Leominster, of that optimism, and of really, there's a sense of momentum, excuse me, a sense of momentum that the community is picking up steam and headed in the right direction. I just think, the projects that you've touched, I mean, driving by these beautiful old buildings and breathing new life into them really speaks and lends itself to that sense of optimism and to that sense of momentum. I know we've both had a couple of meals together at Tacos Tequilas and Dario's, and I think, when people see people investing here on our main streets, it's really powerful, and it snowballs and builds on itself. And I just don't know if any of that would be happening without NewVue and your team. How many people are on the team at NewVue? And
we have about 15 on our team now.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I just want to thank you, because part of what makes this possible is that there really is a unified. It feels to me like North Central is a little bit more unified than it has been in the past, and people coming together and setting a clear direction, whether it's in all of these communities, are now looking really to take advantage of the assets that they have, whether it's Fitchburg, Leominster, we see it in all the communities, and having a delegation at the State House that works together, that works with our local mayors and select boards, that's been really helpful, because now it's clear what are the things that we should be doing. And for our staff, it's helpful to get the resources and also the recognition. They're working really hard helping people with problems, and to be able to know that our voice is being heard and that the voice of residents of the community is being heard, not just our staff, but the people that we're working with. That makes a big difference to us.
So how did you get involved in this work? I mean, you're a lawyer and attorney by training and trade, but what brought you to community development, and what keeps you in it? Because it's hard, and I think every time we take 2 steps forward, it seems that there's another barrier or a challenge. But I mean, you seem to just be a resilient guy, right? To stay in this and over the long haul, push these projects that other people, I think, would just put their hands up and walk away from.
So that's a really interesting question. So I did go to law school, and while I was there, we were studying these cases, and it was like, why did anybody care about this case? This is like the dumbest thing ever. To take it all, to appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court. So this happened to be a real estate case. So I walked over to the planning school and said, oh. So I ended up getting a joint degree in law and in urban planning. I then worked as an intern all the way through law school. I had a job at an organization that built special needs housing. Yep. So I learned about housing there. I then went to a law firm in downtown Boston. But I always really wanted to get back into the community development field. I just thought it was a really cool way to bring skills as a planner, as an attorney, and make a difference. And it's great to, we do more than one thing. We're working with people, that's really important. We're working with housing, that's also really important. We're working with small businesses, so it's all the things that I really...
And you're really the glue to put all of them together, right? And get the whole community kind of moving forward and in the same direction. Yeah, that's the idea.
Right, yeah. Exactly. As a place-based organization, particularly in a world that's become non-place-based, but we all live in a place, and having those 3 different tools is really important to us, to have the leadership, to have the housing and the counseling, and the small business along with the development is a great way to take advantage of the assets and let people invest in their own communities. And we are a community-led organization, and this is one way that we can do that, is by bringing all those things together.
What's your vision for NewVue moving forward? And could you give us a hint or maybe a tell of what, after the Fitchburg Arts Community, maybe after we do that ribbon cutting, what is the next kind of projects that NewVue might be interested in taking on?
So if anybody has any ideas of some other housing projects, we're definitely interested in them. And I think in this environment, we have, there is a need for just straight affordable housing too, particularly in some of our smaller communities.
Right.
So the next project we have after this one that's in line is actually yet again another school. This is 2 schools in Athol that we're also redeveloping into a mix of affordable and senior housing. So that will be the next one that will come online after that. And then we have a couple other ones that are a little further out on the development side. We also would love to do more work on helping to create more home ownership too. So renovating vacant homes, those are a couple of things. And continue to expand our small business work. We're going to be doing more work around lead paint to help people live in safe homes as well.
And you talked about the stewards programs and the different ways that people are coming together through NewVue. Could you talk about, for people watching at home who want to get involved or want to participate in the environmental initiative or any other thing that NewVue is touching, how do they get involved with these programs, and how do they get more information?
Sure. And I guess that when you say what's the next thing, the stewards are oftentimes leading us with great new ideas of things that we should be thinking about that are coming out grassroots. So yeah, people could just give me a call. The office number is 978-342-9561, or you can go to our website, which is newvuecommunities.org, and there's an info button on there.
Great.
Thank you very much.